MD04 displaying the stock information. So from MD04, which is called the stock and requirements list, there is obviously access to the stocks. So you can display the stock statistics and what is called also the overview, which is taking you to transaction MMBE. You have different ways to access the stock information, so you can double click on the stock MRP element or also clicking on the element details button next to it, or from the menu, go to and stock statistics. Once you are in stock statistics screen, you can access the stock overview from the button at the bottom right corner, and this is the shortcut to MMBE. Then you can also access additional information related to available to promise check, so ATP check information. And this is done via a shortcut to the CO09 transaction from the menu, environment, ATP quantities. Additional useful calculation take place and is accessible from MD04. They are grouped under and explained in the ranges of coverage in MRP from the help section. And we can have a look at days of supply and actual coverage. Let's go to SAP transaction. So I take MD04 and I access, for the moment, we'll take procured material, the packaging, because I have some stock for it. It's a VB material, so for the moment we don't see anything. And I have received in total 60 parts. So on the stock line and today's date, I see 60. So now if I want to see more information, I can go to the menu, choose go to stock statistics, or I can do exactly the same by double clicking stocks or this button here. So we have 20 in unrestricted use, 20 in block stock, and 20 in quality inspection. So those different stocks are showing as a total on the line, but it's important to see that from the 60, we might not be able to actually consume 60 because some of them are blocked or in quality inspection and might not have the quality to be like in unrestricted use to be able to be consumed. So the stock overview is the button that you have at the top right corner of the dialog mode, and that takes you to MMBE. In MMBE, you have for the storage location, which is called by parts, you see again the same type of information. So unrestricted use, I have 20, quality inspection 20, and block stock 20. Now, if I go back and I want to see something specific for quality inspection, for example, I could put the cursor here and get to the details, but there is nothing here because there is no specific additional details related to this. The same applies to all the others. So block stock also doesn't have any specific additional information. If I was to select something here for the planned receipt or the fixed receipt and issues or fixed issues, I would have something and I would have the details. We will see that in the other material. Something to also mention at the moment from this transaction is the fact that you can use an additional unit of measure, so you can display the number of pieces. So each is the unit of measure for that. But we know that those parts are coming in boxes. So I know that 3 boxes make 60 parts. So I know now that I have 20 parts per boxes. I can also check that by double clicking on the material, accessing additional data from the material master using the units of measure tab. And here it's specified that one box contains 20 parts, and a carton will take 100 parts, so 5 boxes. Now, for additional information that we mentioned also, there is the ATP information that you can access from environment ATP quantities. And here it's important to look at the receipt. We know that we have 60, but the ATP check is considering only 40. That's shown here also. And the cumulative ATP quantity is shown as 40. So why is that? This means that the scope of check, which is part of the combination of availability check and checking rule, which are the two fields that are driving what is being taken into account. And the stock overview gives us the fact that we have included safety stock. We are also including quality inspection stock, but the block stock is not in there. Include block stock is not ticked. That's why the 20 other boxes, pieces are excluded from the ATP check. So this is one impact of knowing where the stock goes and how it could affect the availability, but also what we see on the screen is not necessarily what's going to be obvious for people on the shop floor to know whether they can consume or not the part. So that was ATP check, taking us from MD04 through a shortcut to the transaction CO09. Now let's go to another material, the finished product material, FP101. Here I can display information related to not only the stock, but the coverage and the requirements. So one thing that I can show now is what I mentioned in the previous screen. Let's go back to that. I was mentioning that I can see CO09 for ATP quantities, but additional useful calculation takes place, and this is in the ranges of coverage in MRP that it's explained. So if I go to ranges of coverage, I have several things are calculated. The statistical range of coverage, the actual range of coverage, and also the days of supply. So the days of supply indicates how many days the plant stock currently available will be able to cover the existing requirements. Let's go now to the SAP screen. If I choose to, for example, show the overview tree, I have the list of the materials that I've looked at, but for the moment I only looked at this one, so I have just this one. I could have a list entirely here, depending on which one I access one after the other. But in this list, there is something that I could display, is the receipt days of supply. I could also go back to list, material list, and the stock days of supply is there. It's 64. This is one way to do it, but if I want to go back and stay on MD04 with on the left this list, I can try and define which fields are of importance to me, and I will select the stock days of supply as maybe the second priority, or in fact, yes, I will not have to consider MRP type. This is not useful. I will just consider a second priority to show me the stock days of supply. I save, and I say settings OK. And now I see that this value is there. So 64 is the number of days with which I can cover my requirements before the first shortage or problem occurs. Now we see that we have 0 in stock. So why is that? How can I have a range of coverage? It's because today's date is 1st of January and the first requirement is only on the 1st of April. So from the 1st of April, I will have access to the calendar just to show you the number of days. From the 1st of April, Wednesday, to the 1st of January, but in fact it's a bank holiday, it's New Year's Day. So I have 64 working days starting from the 1st of January to the 1st of April. So you can count them, they are here, the ones from Monday to Friday. This is why the system considers that for the next 64 days, I don't have any specific problems, but this is also because there is nothing happening. So this is the 64 stock days of supply available here. And we also have something called actual coverage. Let's go back to the screen where it's explained. So I can access range of coverage, it's explained here. The actual range of coverage specifies how long the available quantity of material at a particular date or in a particular period can cover the requirements in the subsequent period. So this is specified in number of days also. It's where I will have a look. It's in the period totals that I can display it. So let's go to the period totals. I'm staying with the same material. I can switch the overview tree and go only to the period totals from this button, the sum button. And I can either display days or weeks. For this specific material at the moment, I only have one value per week, so I don't have any grouping taking place in terms of quantities. So days or weeks is more or less the same. Here I can see again my actual coverage is in fact the same as the stock days of supply, because in that case also between today and the next period, which is 1st of April, I have nothing specific that occurs. Now after that I will see that I have problems, the values are negative, because I will not have, for example, I will have a shortage because I have 30 required and only 10 foreseen as receipts, because MRP is not run, so it's not up to date. So this is where you can see actual coverage by period. Each value is calculated looking at a line and the values of receipts and potential consumptions. Okay, so that was the way to display stock information. And going back to the original, we have seen stock statistics with the details, like for the first material, blocked, quality inspection, unrestricted. We have seen the stock overview, which is taking us to MMBE transaction. We have seen also ATP quantities with 009. And in the end, we looked at calculations that are taking place in addition to these, which are, for example, days of supplies and actual coverage. So this was MD04 displaying stocks.